Welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable on Good Governance. With the government declaring December 25 as Good Governance Day, we have here a panel of experts that are going to figure out what is wrong and what can be done for the government to actually implement this good governance concept. We have with us former IPS officer and social activist Kiran Bedi. We have Mr. Parthasarathy, former High Commissioner to Pakistan. We have Mr. KTS Tulsi, a senior lawyer and a Rajya Sabha member. Mr. Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of Sunday Guardian. And Shankar Iyer, author of The Accidental India, an economist and a journalist. I'll begin with you, Shankar. What do you think, what can be immediately done? You know, we know the system has to be fixed. We know there are a lot of loopholes, but what is doable in the near future?
Well, you know, when we buy a telephone connection or a TV connection, we know who we bought it for, and there is a system that connects the consumer with the provider of the service or provider of the goods. And there is a written agreement, warranty, and system of accountability. We don't have that in governance at all. Every problem in India and every benefit in India is multiplied by 1 billion. So if it's a good thing, it's 1 billion-fold. If it's a bad thing, it becomes worse, aggravates much more. What India needs is a rethink on how we govern India. In the issue, we always are told that India is too complex, it is too unique, and it is too large. All of it is true. But you cannot run away from governance. So you got to bring in the instruments that help you deal with it. A large number of our problems are corruption, inefficiency, all of it have to deal with capacity, bandwidth, and delivery. Technology offers solutions, it offers transparency, it can deal with complexity, and it can deal with scale. I will give you one small example. The Prime Minister has introduced this Jan Dhan Yojana, where everybody flashes their Aadhaar card and goes and opens an account, and there's this whole sort of melodrama after that. The easier way would have been the Aadhaar card has a number on it. This Aadhaar card number could be made the bank account number.
So there is a
the
link.
Aadhaar card is already linked to the National Payment Clearance Corporation. And this Aadhaar card has to be, the accounts have to be vested somewhere because the government subsidies will pour into it, your payments will. So it could be easily vested in the post office. What bigger institution do you have in India than the post offices? It was a simple thing. The government seriously considered it, and I know it for a fact, but came under pressure of RBI, of regulators, of bankers. And you know, India is full of people who will tell you why something can't be done. And when they say that, you know that this should be done.
This is the answer. Mrs. Bedi, you're a great one for dealing with people who tell you what things can't be done.
Since I belong to the bureaucracy, let's say, bureaucracy which wore a uniform, I would say unless the 2 million bureaucrats, people in civil services of this country, nearing 2 million, till that last person delivers. Now you have two kinds. You have got the top leadership, to which persons like him belonged, right? Top bureaucracy. And I belong to another kind of middle top bureaucracy. And there is a large bureaucracy at the top. Who does a common man deal with? That person in the post office, that first person in the bank, that first person in a police station, that constable or a head constable, right? The first person who's the desk officer, the first person who's a tehsildar. This is the 2 million people. Like when Mr. Modi came into power, he said maximum governance, minimum government. Now when he talks about maximum governance, first person who's a tehsildar, this is the 2 million people. Like when Mr. Modi came into power, he said maximum governance, minimum government. Now when he talks about maximum governance, it is through these 2 million. These 2 million are actually his governance. Now here is one leader who is today compelling timely attendance today. Imagine this country is at this level where it's looking at monitors to see whether the seniors come in time. Imagine this country That's why I said I'll talk about bureaucracy, because this is the 2 million which has to deliver, which has the top and which has the large base. If the top has to be compelled, in fact, or persuaded or inspired to come in time at 9 o'clock and give up the little golf, which was pretty popular. There's nothing, golf is a great game, but can you play golf every morning and be attending office at 9? If you can, brilliant, then you're outstanding. But the point is, we know, and the research is establishing, despite this kind of monitoring, only 25% still are being punctual.
That's it. Mr. Nalapat, Modi can get only 25% of his people to office in time?
Still.
Well,
that's interesting data.
The whole problem is that our institutions basically are geared to protect monopolies, and they're geared to protect vested interests. Now, he's talking about the RBI and the post office. The RBI very often functions as a kind of a trade union for the banks. It tries to see what can help the commercial banks. For example, higher interest rates, they believe the banks will get higher profit. They don't look at the broader interest. And this is the whole problem that we are facing a system. We have so many established vested interests in the system, so many established monopolies. Ram Jethmalani, our chairman, was telling me when he was law minister, he came up with around 1,200 laws that are completely redundant. And when he asked the bureaucracy to examine the laws, they said there are only 12 laws that should go, because in each of the other laws, some bureaucrat or the other derived some power from these useless laws.
So it's in the interest to keep it going.
Absolutely.
Mr. Parthasarathi, you want to comment? I forgot you also did a stint in Rajiv Gandhi's PMO, so you know the problems of governance.
Well, yes, I've done a stint in the PMO, and then I realized how government doesn't work. The fact of the matter is, coming to the present day, I think we have to, as far as possible, reduce the interface between the public and the bureaucracy for routine work. Shankar started off with the simple system or the Aadhaar card. I know of countries in Africa where entitlements are paid to villagers through phone.
And not tehsildars.
And not tehsildars. So, that paying the graft to the village mukhya, to the tehsildar, can't this all be avoided by a simple system of a telephone and recognition through an Aadhaar card?
Well, the tehsildar would object to
like the RBI objected to the post office.
I think the classic thing is leadership has to learn to overrule and say, I have set myself this example, deliver, or I'm sacking you. Unless the leadership takes that position, nothing is going to change. Secondly, I want to say something. Even within the bureaucracy, all our bureaucracy looks upwards for orders. They never look sideways for coordinating matters. Let me tell you, Kargil and the 2611 could have been avoided if we had better intelligence coordination. We didn't have it because people are not willing to share, not willing to work as a team. And the important thing is to get them to work as a team. I can say a lot about the defense infrastructure, but I'll say that later.
Okay, Mr. Nalva, you wanted to come and then Mr.
No, I simply want to add to exactly to ditto what he's saying. And the problem is that, quite frankly, we are a system which doesn't care for time and doesn't care for outcomes. In almost every institution of governance, the outcomes do not matter. Now, if you look at the career paths of people, you'll find people with very low level of outcomes, they move the fastest. And in terms of time, people who delay matters, again, they're supposed to be the smartest people. And the people who who try to do things at speed, very often they fall into trouble.
Mr. Tulsi, you're in the Rajya Sabha also. Is there any solution? What do you find most galling about, or do you find that this government is doing its bit towards good governance?
No, I don't think so. Firstly, I want to say that to me it appears that why is it that we have more than 50% of the world's hungry in this region, in the Indian subcontinent? India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, we have more than 50% of malnourished children in this region. And we have more than 50 crore people below poverty line. How is it, I think, our generation and the educated class has let down this country. And perhaps there is something in our DNA because of which we turned out to be lagging behind everyone. And secondly, I feel that with regard to the governance, of course, this government has been in the saddle only for a while, but with over-centralization, whatever we have seen, over-centralization, there's a traffic jam with the PMO. Files are not moving. Decisions are not being taken. That's going to be directly the result when you incapacitate your ministers, and also you deal directly with the secretary, and the secretary then will ignore. So therefore, there is something amiss. First, and then the way we handled Pakistan. You know, we have to live with our neighbors. Don't we realize that we are both these countries? The poverty is because both of us are spending more than 50% of our GDP on defense.
That's not right. It's the lowest in the world. Ours is 2.3, Pakistan's is 3.8.
We need to spend more. But Shankar, you wrote a book saying accidental reforms. You said the reforms the Congress did were accidental. Modi's reforms seem to be caught in a traffic jam. Where's the way out?
I think the first thing that we need to recognize, I think, and this is an Asian problem rather than an Indian problem, is that we tend to individualize.
We have Asian tigers now.
So we tend to individualize solutions for institutional problems. So we vest hope in, just like the Krishna avatar or Jesus or whatever, we individualize saying that this one person will come and fix it. Whereas our problems are institutional. And the moment you individualize a solution, you institutionalize failure. Because it is a huge load on that one person to try and make everything work. So, when we talk about governance, half the ministries in Delhi have no business to exist. Why should you have a rural development ministry in the center and in the state, the health ministry in the center? The center is really a conceptual myth. Every inch of India is ruled by states. So you can have the central government, which is what I was expecting when Mr. Modi spoke about maximum governance and minimum government. Trim down this, decentralize. Why, if the parliament has elected representatives, the legislatures also have elected representatives. They can't be dependent on a clearance system which is ruled from Delhi. Let them decide. So why do countries do better? Because it's a bottom-up governance. Mr. Patsati spoke about we look up and do this. Jack Welch once told the entire staff of GE that companies who do well are customer focused. Governments who do well similarly are those which are citizen focused. Our governments are all focused on the political hierarchy, and they have the back to the citizen. So we don't evolve solutions. So I think you have to decentralize, as he said, remove the interface wherever possible. If you have a passport today, which is valid, say, for another 3 months, you are a legal entity, nothing wrong with you. The moment you go to renew the passport, you become a criminal, because you will be subject to checks, balances, this, that. Why should you do that?
I may tell you one thing. We have worked very hard to try and simplify and computerize this passport process. You know why passports get delayed?
Why?
Because you have this ridiculous situation that even if you have an existing passport and get a renewal, some policeman has to come and say you're alive and you're an honest man. Now, how do you know that policeman at all is honest? So why don't you do away with this wretched police reporting for citizens of India? If you are a criminal, you can always have your record on a database.
They should have
so you're back to technology as the
solution.
solution.
To a database. Yeah. Have a countrywide database. Yet, we will harass 2 million citizens a year. The bribery and corruption is mainly for that fellow who comes and gives you a police clearance report. I know in certain cities in India where they deliberately keep these things pending to collect money.
Islam, quickly, then I'll go to,
Well, I simply want to say that just taking on from what Mr. Tulsi and Mr. Patsati have been saying, the reality is that systems are created basically to maximize the number of points at which bribes have to be paid, and to maximize the number of people who will be the beneficiaries of these bribes. So procedures get more and more elaborate, and they're more and more difficult, because at each gateway you can collect a bribe. It's like, in these lawless places you've seen checkpoints. The Taliban has set up checkposts. In Iraq you've got checkpoints. So you've got multiple checkpoints of multiple people collecting bribes. The entire Indian system is that kind of a system, in which you've got multiple choke points, in each of which you have to pay a bribe.
Okay, Mrs. Bedi, you wanted to come in, and also I want you to also tell me one more thing, is that can you come up with some suggestions which can be implemented, like how do we get our girls home safely in cabs?
Oh, I'll come to that. Let me give you one very valuable information. India is, when we talked about governance, since that's the point I'd like to continue with, is the bureaucracy, is the 2 million.
Seems to be the biggest loophole in governance.
It is the biggest loophole. I think let's be fair to our current leader today. He's inherited a huge area of attitude and aptitude. Two things is he's inherited a deficiency of aptitude and attitude in bureaucracy of these 2 million, and that's no ordinary thing. How much time will it take to revive this 2 million? Because that's the first interface of a common man. Everybody doesn't reach out to the Prime Minister's office. But first person contact is the person in the post office.
So what he's saying, technology, is that the right answer?
Technology is a very important tool, but it's delivered through a human being as well. So you need that human being with aptitude and attitude, and both have been seriously deficient. That this bureaucracy, even if it's so light on the ground, is rude. People want to, statistics show that if people want to get their work done, who do they go to? Statistics show they don't go to a bureaucrat, they go to a politician. That's what it is showing.
Because they look upwards.
So the point, what I'm trying to derive at is, the challenge is, how does that well, a deficient man with aptitude low, with attitude missing, or very low, delivers. So that one man also delivers. How does it deliver? I have one solution.
Which is?
How does that one man deliver? He's invisible. He's not visible. He writes an initial. In fact, last government had to say, please write your name fully so that you identified who's your deputy secretary, who's this joint secretary. They were initially. I would say public needs to work on at least desk officers or deputy secretaries onwards and district magistrates. We need to have civil society people around them who are neutral to hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. Who are they accountable to? Who is the bureaucracy
accountable? Isn't the Citizens' Charter an answer then?
Charter is an incident. But again, you come back to their whims and fancies to deliver. I would say, where is a citizen interface accountability with this one person? Or at least let's bring it from the district magistrate level, or the SDM level, or the SDPO police level, or the district SP level. Let's have civil society groups, citizens like we used to have Thana level committees. They need to be formed as resident welfare associations or groups of people. Non-political need not be, because the moment you politicize, then you divide the whole issue. Non-political, surrounded by each
keeping a watchful eye
with them, saying this is not what's happening, this is what we want to happen. So when your deficiency is high, your attitude is low, your aptitude doesn't exist, but you want maximum governance, and you have so much aspiration. How do you deliver?
Okay.
How do you
bring in
this
Mr.
inheritance?
Tulsi
So I
in
want
this.
to hold this inheritance responsible and accountable. Therefore, if all of us are going to be running out of patience, we are doomed. We got to be patiently patient, but to make
be
this
more
2
proactive.
million deliver.
Okay. Mr. Tulsi, do you agree with the...
I have no patience.
Okay. So then what do you do?
I have no patience with this horrible governance, particularly in the justice system. I cannot understand the meaning of justice. If it's going to be doled out after 10 years, it loses meaning, loses significance. And people would rather then go to the mafia for sorting out their issues. It's just not done. And judiciary would spend half the time on public interest litigation, but 178,000 cases of murder pending in the courts, most of them more than 5 years. 1 lakh, about 87,000 rape cases pending in the country. We go gung-ho over one decision that is made, but we need institutional solutions, and solutions are very simple. How to bring criminal justice particularly on the rails is technology. If we can have all our police stations where the telephone lines are automatically recorded, that's the FIR. Most of the cases on the rails is technology. If we can have all our police stations where the telephone lines are automatically recorded, that's the FIR. Most of the cases, we argue around the fact as to whether the FIR was anti-timed. Technology can sort that out. We are excessively dependent on witnesses. Only if we had proper interrogation rooms with audiovisual facility in every police station. All statements of witnesses can be video recorded. Nobody will go hostile. We can also record the statements of the accused on video, and then Section 25 of the Evidence Act can be amended. It was amended in Tada. It was amended in Pota. So there is no difficulty about that. Third is, if we can have mobile forensic vans. India is not a third world country. We are an IT power. We can provide mobile forensic van which are connected with the police net, where you can take the blood sample on the spot. It accompanies the homicide team. You can take the blood sample and analyze the blood and find out whose blood matches with this one. And the fingerprints are taken.
We need a crash course in CSI.
And matched on the spot. Arushi would never have happened. If only we had this, very basic technology which is available everywhere. And in the courts, we can have recording facilities. The whole world has recording facilities for the trials, where the statements of witnesses and then transcription machines. These are the kind of things which can speed up, and we can get 90% conviction. Today, the conviction rate is so abysmally low that it's actually a high profit, low risk business.
Okay. May I add one thing to what Mr. Tulsi has said? Every government in India is in defiance of the Supreme Court judgment on police reforms. I think Kiran will bear me out.
1861.
No. 2006 judgment.
There is a 2006 judgment.
The police reforms we haven't had since.
On the police
Each one is committing a contempt.
Each state and the union government
is in contempt.
Is in contempt of the Supreme Court.
How can it be contempt? Can the Supreme Court direct them to make laws?
No.
But they are violating. They have said
violating
the law.
The guidelines.
This judgment holds.
It's a Supreme Court
it
judgment.
Clearly said
they inform the rights of the judgment. I am merely saying that there is a Supreme Court judgment.
The directions were very clear.
The idea being to make police responsible to public.
Judgment is not that you enact a law. Judgment is that you consider it.
This judgment holds good till you frame the law.
This particular one was mandated, if I'm right.
Yes, it was mandated in 2006 September.
And
Mr. Prakash Singh's judgment.
Yeah. And the fact
No, it's all advice to the government.
No state.
No, it was not advice.
Mr. Narendra, I'm going to let you have the final word on this.
I simply want to say that, I have known of cases that have been lasting for 40 or 50 or odd years. So I think we should wait another 30 years before we get impatient about the states following this particular advice of Supreme Court. Because normally it takes about 40 years, I would say. I just want to say that, we have been talking about DNA. You see Indians in Singapore, you see Indians in the United States, you see Indians in the UK. They're performing exceptionally well. The only problem somehow is that in our own country, people with the same DNA cannot perform well. And the reason is, as our experts are saying, a system which has been built basically to muffle their creativity and to really to completely choke them from any kind of activity.
I would say it's not just muffled. There's been a section which is muffled, but we muffled ourselves. Each bureaucrat has chosen to muffle himself. Get into a comfort zone, security till you retire, and pension after, and deliver or not deliver, you're not accountable. You will continue to move up by seniority. There's no measurables.
You will do better if you don't perform.
It's average performance which takes you to the top.
That's why Justice Krishna here said that maybe by mistake you will get an outstanding judge in the Supreme Court.
Maybe by mistake. Accidental reforms.
I want to make one point. The problem is that too many of our decision makers, they choose the people they like rather than the people they need.
By merit.
And this is the whole problem. You have around you people whom you like, they have around you people whom they like, and they may not be the best achievers.
Okay, Shankar, final, will Modi be able to come the next election on good governance, or you think we'll have to wait a while?
Well, some of the steps that need to be taken, he's spoken about, and there is some amount of discourse. But I increasingly feel that we are again seeing a risk-averse system. I have a sense of disquiet on a government that depends on the bureaucrats to find solutions. Solutions
just have to deliver.
Solutions have to be crafted by politicians. They have to take the political risk and make it happen. The moment you do present a risk-averse picture, that means you are waiting for a crisis to be perpetuated or a crisis to come and knock at your door. What does the crisis do? It takes away the choice. You have to take a decision then. So I would much rather that the government precipitated the crisis, like police reforms, judicial reform. We have judges vacancies all over the place. We have the lowest number of police plus per 1,000 population. We have the worst foreign service to number of countries issue. And
smallest number.
Yeah. Okay. So we have to work towards. Otherwise, we will again be doomed for a crisis.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
When a political decision is taken, however risk averse or not, it's delivered through the arms and legs of bureaucracy. That's what I'm talking about. Those 2 million people.
All I would like to say, I think we've got a person who's going to give it a try. Whether it will succeed or not, time will tell.
Well, that was going to be my last comment.
Technology solution of e-Samiksha.
Okay, I will have to wait for that for another show. We are totally out of time now, ma'am.
Technology answer. He is sitting in monitoring the decision taking in the process and the delay. E-Samiksha has already entered
on his own table.
He is on his table to see who is sitting on which file today.
But
he is at that level.
There's delay on his own table.
Which is the traffic jam that he talked about. Well, is Modi a politician enough to take the risk that is needed to change the system? That is the big question that we'll be watching out for now. But from us, that's all for now. Thank you for watching this show.